Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we have this position, white pawn going in this direction forward, and we have a bishop and white is playing to win this. So as always, if you'd like to pause and guess the move on your own, go ahead, pause the video and guess the move. Best of luck. Okay, here you probably seen that the bishop is perfectly lined up with a king, which means whenever this pawn moves, it's going to be a check. So you guess the idea, the first idea. It's moving this pawn, either taking the d6 pawn, the black pawn, or moving forward with the pawn. That looks logical, and one of it will work, one of it doesn't. Let's take the pawn, that is the most obvious move. Here black is in check and black king has to move, and black will just move to a2. Black king will just move to a2, and if you see that now we can't push because the rook would play to d6 and attack both of our pawns, so we can't do anything. We don't have much thing to do. If we try to attack the rook will just take this, and this is the next, so this is just a draw. So we can't do push this pawn. Well, you might say, what if we defend it with a bishop? But now these pawns are doubled and they can easily stopped by the rook. Here you might push one of the pawn, but here in this position black is clever and black can get in front of the pawn by playing rook to d8, and we don't have anything to do to stop the rook, and the rook will even sacrifice itself against the remaining pawn, and this is just a draw. A bishop alone can't do anything, right? So that is the idea, and taking this is not the solution. So we have to play e6 check to win, and that is indeed the first move. So in this position black has to play king to a2. The idea is pretty obvious, to get closer to this pawn, so black king will help the rook stopping these pawns. That is the idea, and that is kind of obvious, and here it is the second most critical part of the puzzle. And as always, if you'd like to pause again and pause and guess the move on your own, go ahead, pause the video and guess the move. Best of luck. Okay, welcome back. Here if we push, it's the same thing again. Black will play rook to a8 attacking our bishop. Our bishop has to move, and black will just simply play here, and black is one step faster than us and just take the pawn. So from this position on, it doesn't really matter. Black can play rook to e8 and just sacrifice the rook against it, and that is just enough for black to manage get a draw. So that is our problem, and we can't push the pawn here in this position. That is not the correct move. But how about if we play a king move? Here we can play a king move too, but black will just play here king to b3. We play king to f4, black will play c4 and attack our pawn. So now in this position we have to play king to e4 to defend the pawn. In this position black will just play rook to a8 attacking the bishop, so the bishop has to move somewhere like this move, but the rook is going to play rook to e8 and get in front of the pawn. So this pawn is the problem. Black will just help it and we can't make any progress. This is just dead draw, and that is not the solution. King move is in this position. After black plays a2, king move is not the solution, and pushing this pawn is not the solution. So it must be a bishop move. So where do we put this bishop? The move is the stunning bishop to e5, sacrificing the bishop. Wait, what does this move do? First, if black takes, we just play e7, and notice the rook can't go behind the pawn because of the backward pawn. The backward pawn is defending the e6 square, so it can't get there. But the rook can get a8 and stop the pawn. But now there is no pawn to stop the d pawn, and we can push to d6. Now these two pawns reach in the 6th rank, which means a rook alone can't stop them. And this is just winning, right? So rook can't do anything. Rook might play e8, but we are going to play d7 and attack the rook, so we are forcing the rook to give up the promotion. So we promote and win. But black can't see this, right? Black can't see this threat, and black will just simply play rook to e8. So what do we do in this position? a8, I mean rook to a8. That is what I meant. And if you'd like to pause again, get the move. Well, in this position, we just take the pawn and prepare two connector passed pawns. So that is pretty dangerous for black, and that is the right idea. So in this position, black will just play king to b3, and from this position on, there is only one winning move. So go ahead, pause the video and guess the move. Okay, it's not bishop to c5, as black can play c4, attacking the backward pawn. We can push the pawn, but black will just take the bishop and attack the backward pawn again. So when we push, black will just play d6, king to d6, attacking the other pawn. So black is going to take one of these pawns on the next move, and the rook is perfectly placed on a8, and the rook can take the pawn if we just push this and promote. So that is a big problem, and we are going to lose a game that way. So in this position, after we play king to c4, you might ask, what if black plays bishop to for example, this is not I think appropriate. For example, bishop to b6, saving the bishop. That makes us to give us this the d5 pawn, so black will just take it, and it doesn't really matter. We can play this, but it doesn't really matter. Black will just, we can't make any progress. We are going to trade the promotion on the next move, but black will just play king to f7, and black will just play here and take the bishop and take everything. So that would just be a draw. So this is not the solution, and moving the bishop is not the solution. The move is bishop to b8. That looks very dumb. That asks life choices, but this is the right move. What is the idea of this move? The idea of this move is to block the rook. That is the straightforward idea. So in this position, if black plays here, we can just play pawn to e7 and ready to promote. So the rook can't access the e8 square. That makes us to promote the pawn safely. And if the rook takes the bishop, notice now when the rook takes the bishop, black is wasting a move, right? So black is wasting a tempo. So we use that advantage. In this position, we are going to push d5, and black king can't get into the pawns. So one of these pawns are going to be promoted on the next move. We promote here, it's a check, the rook has to take, we promote and win this game. So this is how the puzzle is solved. First, for recap, first we are going to push the pawn, giving a check. The king has to move to a2. So in this position, we are going to play bishop to e5, sacrificing the bishop. the rook, black might know this and play rook to a8, placing the rook in a better position to just control the promotion square. So we just take that, we just take the pawn. The king might try to help it, but we are going to give the bishop. So it doesn't really matter if the king takes now. We are going to play d6, and we are pretty too close to the promotion, right? So the rook can't do anything, and of course the king can't do anything. This is the best move for black, and black might try to fight with one rook. So this is the solution of the puzzle. If you found all of this, congratulations. Make sure to subscribe to see similar chess puzzle videos like this. Bye.